I've been working on the railroad all the livelong day. I've been working on the railroad just to pass the time away. Hey! Is that how it goes? Something like that. Good morning, you guys. Happy Wednesday. Is it happy for you? It's happy for me. I'm excited. We are in a new session, for one thing. And in case you didn't know, we are studying the making of America, as well as sometimes we're in this book, the 5,000 Year Leap, which refers to our government that only two types of people ever had. But really, this is the study that we're going through. And you would think it would be very, maybe boring and overwhelming, but it's not. It's fun and it's very cool. And if you know this stuff, you're super cool. And if you don't, kind of. I'm sorry I'm late. Today's episode, I could blame on my mother. That would probably be wrong to do. I don't really offer any excuses or apologies. I'm sorry that I'm late sometimes. I am here though, and I am pumped up. I'm really excited. Today's going to be a fun time. Should be a good, easy study. I've pre-read some of the work. And if you don't know, if you don't have the materials for this, you can follow along with me. My name is Deanna, and I'm streaming out of Humboldt County, about Humboldt County, to Humboldt County, and anyone else who cares. And I'm not sure, probably nobody got a notification that I'm live, but everybody knows Monday, Wednesday, Fridays, Pacific time, 12:30 Pacific time, I'm doing this. Hi, Bonnie. Good to see you, honey. She knows. See, Bonnie knows. Okay, so we're going to go to standuphumboldt.news, which you could find from standuphumboldt.com as well. The Constitution tab has the study. If you can get your own study, $70. These first two tabs will take you to the National Center for Constitutional Studies. And they have a lot of free stuff too. So, here is the binder I'm referring to on the videos. It's just like this binder. And there are 31 sessions, I believe. Let me double check again. I think there's 31. We're just getting into session 8. Maybe there's 30. I think there's 31. Yup, there's 31. There's another book too that used to be in all of our elementary schools, and I'll be excited when we get into this one. It's called Elementary Catechism on the Constitution of the United States for the use of schools. And it's pretty great. I've done some previews of that. So anyway, we're getting into a new session. There's 31 sessions. We're on session 8. Today's principle, the 7th principle, I almost forgot for a while, but the way they formulated the Constitution was based on 28 or 29? 28 principles, I believe. Yeah, 28 principles. And so right now we're learning on, and I'll give you a quick little glance if you haven't known what they are, and you could check this out a little bit later, but these are the principles that the Constitution was founded on. And so we're going through equal rights, not equal things, which is the 7th principle, okay? So 4 minutes in, that's pretty typical. I usually will start anywhere between 4 and 7 minutes on the streams. I always thought I would edit that jibber jabber out, but unfortunately I just really don't have time. I'm lucky if I can get all this stuff where I need to get it. So again, no excuses. I just thought, oh yeah, I'll be able to edit that out. So now I'm just really trying not to talk too much, get right into it. I certainly don't mess around once I begin. Not too much interjection unless they're asking questions, and then someone's got to answer them. So okay, so here we go. Session 8. We're going to be in this book today, The 5,000 Year Leap, the 7th principle, equal rights, not equal things. So I'll be reading to you these pages. They're pretty short, and the questions, I want to read the questions first. We'll just read the question, and then and then I'll read the answer instead of any other way today. So questions 1 through 6 are from this book, and they pertain to preparing the cultural soil. This book is The 5,000-Year Leap, again. And number 1, what powers can be legitimately assigned to government? Pages 115 and 116. And I'm going to get that up too, so we have them side by side. The questions as well as the pages are here. Okay, so I'm gonna just read these pages. The answer's gonna be there. We're gonna figure it out pretty quickly and pretty easily. This is a pretty easy study. I try to keep it between 20 and 30 minutes. Sometimes it's been longer. Sometimes I really want to get through those questions, and I even just have to cut it because it's just thick and meaty sometimes. But most of the time, it's pretty simple stuff. And if you take the time to hang out with me 3 times a week for 20 minutes to 40 minutes, I guarantee you're going to learn a lot, because I'm learning this. I'm not teaching this. I've set this aside as time for me to share with you. So maybe I'll continue to do it, and then I could say I'm actually teaching it, because I haven't written down a lot of my answers. I'm going to have to go rewatch my own videos to put my answers in. So, yeah. Here we go. 7th principle. The proper role of government is to protect equal rights, not provide equal things. Hallelujah. Can I get an amen? And there is a picture of the federal government here on the side. One of my favorite memes I have, I'll just share real quick. I love this one of government. I got one here in this blog. It's it's government versus something. Maybe I don't have it as much as I thought. I have reworked all this stuff. I've reworked it all. Government healthcare. Maybe that's it. There's a great meme that shows government. No, that's ain't it. But anyway, back to the study. Sorry. What powers can be legitimately assigned to government? Let's just start reading, okay? In Europe, during the days of the founders, it was very popular to proclaim that the role of government was to take from the haves and give to the have-nots, so that all might be truly equal. Let me make sure I am sharing indeed. Okay, good. However, the American founders perceived this proposition contained a huge fallacy. What powers can be assigned to government? The founders recognized that the people cannot delegate to their government the power to do anything except that which they have the lawful right to do themselves. For example, every person is entitled to protection of his life and property. Therefore, it is perfectly legitimate to delegate to the government the task of setting up a police force to protect the lives and property of all the people. But suppose a kind-hearted man saw that one of his neighbors had 2 cars while another neighbor had none. What would happen if, in spirit of benevolence, the kind man went over and took one of the cars from his prosperous neighbor, excuse me, and generously gave it to the neighbor in need? Obviously, he would be arrested for car theft. No matter how kind his intentions, he is guilty of flagrantly violating the natural rights of his prosperous neighbor, who is entitled to be protected in his property. Of course, the 2-car neighbor could donate a car to his poor neighbor if he liked, but that is his decision and not the prerogative of the kind-hearted neighbor who wants to play Robin Hood. How governments sometimes commit legal crimes. Let's see if that's our next question, too. Probably is. What are the natural results of the government's assuming the authority to take from the haves and give to the have-nots? Oh, yeah, it is. But suppose the kind-hearted man decided to ask the mayor and city council to force the man with 2 cars to give one to his pedestrian neighbor. Does that make it any more legitimate? Obviously, this makes it even worse, because if the mayor and city council do it in the name of the law, oh, can I put in brackets, the state's making us do it? The man who has lost his car has not only lost the rights to his property, but since it is the law, quote unquote, he has lost all rights to appeal for him for help in protecting his property. The right. The American founders recognized that the moment the government is authorized to start leveling the material possessions of the rich in order to have an equal distribution of goods, the government thereafter has the power to deprive any of the people of their equal rights to enjoy their lives, liberties, and property. Oh, yeah. Yeah. I could just only imagine what that would be like. A popular fallacy. We're going to read on this next one too. Those on the receiving end of the program may think this is very just to take from the haves and gives to the have-nots. They may say, this is the way the government provides equal justice for all. But what happens when the government comes around and starts taking from those who count themselves poor? They immediately declare with indignation they have the rights in the property the government gave them. The government replies, we decide who has rights in things. The power given to the government to take from the rich automatically canceled out the principle of guaranteed equal rights. It opened the floodgate for the government to meddle with everybody's rights, particularly property rights. And then I know, well, let's see, this here, protecting equal rights for all provides for what great economic freedoms. And then we're going to have a warning about communism here. When the communists seized power in Hungary, the peasants were delighted with the justice of having the large farms confiscated from their owners and given to the peasants. Later, the communist leaders seized 3/4 of the peasant land and took it back to set up government communal farms. Immediately, the peasants howled in protest about their property rights. Those who protested too loudly or too long soon found that they not only lost their land, but also their liberty. If they continued to protest, they lost their lives. Equal rights doctrine protects the freedom to prosper. The American founders took a different approach. Their policy was to guarantee the equal protection of all the people's rights and thus ensure that all would have the freedom to prosper. There was to be no special penalty for getting rich. The French philosophers cried out in protest, but then some of the people will become very rich. Indeed, they will, the founders might have responded. The more, the better. That is the attitude to have, in my humble opinion. In fact, it was soon discovered that the new industrial age required large quantities of private funds in order to build factories, purchase complicated machinery and tools, and provide millions of jobs which had never existed before. The founders felt that America would become a nation dominated by a prosperous middle class, with a few people becoming rich. As for the poor, the important thing was to ensure the freedom to prosper so that no one would be locked into the poverty level the way people have been in all other parts of the world. 4. Let me actually finish this last paragraph. Making the whole nation prosperous. It was realized, of course, that some would prosper more than others. That is inevitably as long as there is liberty. Some would prosper because of talent, some because of good fortune, some because of an inheritance, but most would prosper because of hard work. The entire American concept of freedom to prosper was based on the belief that man's instinctive will to succeed in a climate of liberty would result in the whole people prospering together. It was thought that even the poor could lift themselves through education and individual effort to become individual and self-sufficient. The idea was to maximize prosperity, minimize poverty, and make the whole nation rich. Where people suffered the loss of their crops or became unemployed, the more fortunes were to help, and those who were enjoying good times were encouraged to save up and store for the misfortunes which come to everybody someday. Hard work, frugality, thrift, and compassion became the key words in the American ethic. Wunderbar. Number 4, America excelled all other nations in at least 4 ways because it protected equal rights instead of trying to provide equal things. Name these 4 achievements. Give proof that the founders made leveling unconstitutional. Why the founders made European theories unconstitutional. What happened in America under these principles was remarkable in every way. Within a short time, the Americans as a people were on the way to becoming the most prosperous and best educated nation in the world, which was amazing to de Tocqueville when he arrived in 1831. They were also the freest people in the world. Eventually, the world found that they were also the most generous people on earth. And all this not because they were Americans. The founders believed these same principles would work for any nation. The key was using the government to protect equal rights, not to provide equal things. As previously mentioned, Samuel Adams said the ideas of a welfare state were made unconstitutional. The utopian schemes of leveling, bracket, redistribution of the wealth, bracket, and a community of good, central ownership of all the means of production and distribution are as visionary and impractical as those which vest all property in the crown. These ideas are arbitrary, despotic, and in our own government, unconstitutional. That was Samuel Adams. Nevertheless, the founders had a deep concern for the poor and needy. As mentioned earlier, disciples of the collectivist left in the founders' day, as well as in our own, have insisted that compassion for the poor requires that the federal government become involved in taking from the haves and giving to the have-nots. Benjamin Franklin had been one of the have-nots after living several years in England, where he saw government welfare programs in operation. He had considerable to say about these public charities of counterproductive compassion. Franklin wrote a whole essay on the subject and told one of his friends, "I have long been of your opinion that your legal provision for the poor in England is a very great evil, operating as it does to the encouragement of idleness. We have followed your example and begin now to see our error, and I hope shall reform it." That's Benjamin Franklin. A survey of Franklin's views on counterproductive compassion might be summarized as follows. And these are our answers here, these 4. 1. Compassion which gives a drunk the means to increase his drunkenness is counterproductive. 2. Compassion which breeds debilitating dependency and weakness is counterproductive. 3. Compassion which blunts the desire or necessity to work for a living is counterproductive. 4. Compassion which smothers the instinct to strive and excel is counterproductive. Nevertheless, the founders recognized that it is a mandate of God to help the poor and underprivileged. It is interesting how they said this should be done. The founders' formula for calculated compassion, Franklin wrote, "To relieve the misfortunes of our fellow creatures is concurring with the deity. It is godlike, but if we provide encouragement for laziness and supports for folly, may we not be found fighting against the order of God and nature, which perhaps has appointed want and misery as the proper punishments for and cautions against, as well as necessary consequences of idleness and extravagance? Whenever we attempt to amend the scheme of providence and to interfere with the government of the world, we had need be very circumspect, lest we do more harm than good." Nearly all the founders seem to have acquired deep convictions that assisting those in need had to be done through means which might be called calculated compassion. Highlights from their writings suggest the following. 1. Do not help the needy completely. Merely help them to help themselves. 2. Give the poor the satisfaction of earned achievement instead of rewarding them without achievement. 3. Allow the poor to climb the appreciation ladder. from tents to cabins, cabins to cottages, cottages to comfortable houses. 4. Where emergency help is provided, do not prolong it to the point where it becomes habitual. 5. Strictly enforce the scale of fixed responsibility. The first and foremost level of responsibility is with the individual himself. The second level is the family, then the church, next the community, finally the country, and in a disaster or emergency, the state. Under no circumstances the federal government to become involved in public welfare. Repeat, under no circumstances is the federal government to become involved in public welfare. The founders felt it would corrupt the government and also the poor. No constitutional authority exists for the federal government to participate in charity or welfare. Motives of the founders. By excluding the national government from intervening in the local affairs of the people, the founders felt they were protecting the unalienable rights of the people from abuse by an over-aggressive government. But just what are unalienable rights? This brings us to our next principle. So I must have read all, and let's see what the last question was. 5 principles. Yeah, we read those. Yep. That is our study for today. Not too bad, you guys. 21 minutes. Woo, woo. Hey, Benjamin. Good to see you, babe. Not too bad. Getting better. Moving right along. Although I did notice session 8, you guys, has 2.5 pages of questions. So maybe I should have went on a little longer. No, just kidding. We got to keep it short and sweet and interesting and fun. And I'm really digging it. It's super fun. I'm having a good time. Enjoy. I love to learn. There's a lot to learn on YouTube. There's a lot of time to waste on YouTube. Choose this day whom you will serve. I want the truth. You can't handle the truth. Yes, I can. All right. Can you handle the truth? Then keep hearing it. Keep listening for it. Ask for it. And it will be revealed to you. If you really want the truth with all your heart, mind, soul, and body, you're going to get it. So look out. All right. Peace out, Humboldt. Love y'all.